Alright, good morning, Star Wars fans. Chris Gogolen here, bringing you some top 4 semifinal coverage of the 2021 Retro event. Today we'll have slated for both games of the matchup between zlorfik and allstarz97, also known as 3-time world champion Bastian Winkelhaus, 2-time world champion Justin Desai, both Star Wars CCG Hall of Famers, and pretty much known as two of the best players ever to lace them up. They'll be getting started here in just a minute or two. Bastian was just finishing up lunch. He's in Germany, so it's 1:30 in the afternoon there for him. So we'll give those guys just a minute here to get themselves situated and going. I see Bastian is now in the Gemp lobby. Now we're just waiting on Justin, who was just online and talking just a minute ago. So Bastian let Justin know he was running a few minutes late, so I'm sure Justin wasn't exactly in a big hurry to, get himself online and going if he knew Bastian wasn't going to be here on time. Thank you for joining us this morning, or if you're watching the replay on YouTube, thank you for tuning in and checking out the game. So our matchups today, per Justin, do not favor him very much at all, and this may be a quick match if things start to go a little sideways, or if game one goes, pretty poorly. They may not play game two, depending on really on how things go. Justin was not feeling optimistic at all about his matchups. We've got Justin playing Throne Room and Hunt Down, and Bastian's playing Profit and the Set Your Course Brangus deck. I did not get a chance to see exactly which version of like Throne Room and Hunt Down Justin was playing, but we saw Bastion win with his Profit deck against Miguel's Bring Him Before Me. Kind of a similar setup to Hunt Down. Now, obviously, there's differences in the damage outputs with Visage and the way it takes away Luke and those kinds of things. But these are two great players, so there should always be interesting to see the ways that they come up with to try to turn a disadvantage around into an advantage, or even just into a force mitigation kind of situation. It's not the greatest matchup for you, but what little things can you do to try to improve on that, or try to cut the loss down as much as you can? Which strategy, what lines of play do you pursue in that case? So, all right, and there we go. There's the table. And Justin has chosen to play light first. We'll go big screen on this. So we've got Set Your Course against Throne Room. Now, if this one of the popular versions of Throne Room revolved around using careful planning for the nudges and revolutions, which would be completely ineffective because of the Set Your Course objective here. Revolution is canceled for the remainder of game. So if you're relying on force denial from something like that, it could certainly be problematic. Justin is not, looks like he's going with the Insurrection Staging Area Docking Bay Activation Platform, and then he went with Wise Advice to allow his grabbers to play for free, as well as looping back any cards that might be canceled with Sense or Alter. Bastion has opted for Mob Points, Oppressive, Mirroring, Wise Advice, and he started First Strike. Um, it's kind of the hallmark of this deck is letting your opponent set up and do something, and then sending EPP characters or lone characters who can draw destiny. Uh, EPP Vader, deploy, battle, swing, hit one guy, draw destiny, and hit another. Retrieve a card with first strike. You lose your Vader, and then use Brangus's text to exchange a docking bay for the top card of your lost pile. And since the objective lets you take cards with Death Star into hand, you can get extra copies of your Death Star docking bay. You take those back into hand. You swap them. You get Vader back. Just keep sending Vader over and over again to kill their guys. And then when you battle, you possibly retrieve the docking bay, or you play something like Put All Sections on Alert, which lets you retrieve two docking bays from your lost pile. Justin starts off with a balanced attack, takes Admiral Akbar into hand. This take one Admiral or General into hand from reserve deck. Does get you Obi-Wan. He goes Akbar to the home 1 docking bay to boost his activation, because Akbar deploys -2 to home 1, so he only costs 2 to put down there. He gets the activation bump, strategic reserves. Generation is +1 at each docking bay you occupy, or 2 if you control. Now, typically in a throne room type deck, you usually see 4 to 5, at least 4 to 5 locations that are 2-0s, those that are Twixes, which is kind of interesting because that's what I had for breakfast this morning, was a Twix, just to kind of hold me over through this match. A little early here to be up, but again, thank you guys for tuning in the chat and checking the game out. If you're in the chat, just say hi, say good morning. Let's see who's awake and who's listening. Bastion used his mod points pull to get Wakilimu, his once per game, to get the system out. And he'll get the Death Star War Room out as well to boost his activation. And good morning, Jared, and thank you for watching. There's Blast Door Controls. This is a card that still sees play even today, because it cancels a number of good evasion cards, Rebel Barrier being the most popular, but Narrow Escape and Blast the Door Kid occasionally pop up. Probably will not see it into the Garbage Chute Flyboy outside of some type of sealed deck format. Although it did have a Legacy Virtual version that did something at the Junkyard. I think it added a Battle Destiny at Watto's Junkyard. So it was decent in Hyperdrive because it was a Destiny 6 interrupt or something that added a Battle Destiny. Alright, Justin will use Akbar's game text to get First Officer Thanespi. This guy basically mirrors Zuckuss, while she is piloting a Star Cruiser with another Mon Calamari pilot aboard. Unless they have total ability greater than 6, resets their total battle destiny to 0. Very similar text to what Zuckuss the Misthunter says. And the ability greater than 6 is most likely going to require Bastion to have 2 ships in play, at least. Typically, this type of deck list, you're going to run your Bounty Hunter ships, your Zuckuss the Misthunter, your Fett and Slave 1, Dengar and Punishing 1. All things that a Bosk and Houndstooth that add a destiny or draw on their own. But with Thanespi out, now you're talking about needing 2 ships or Zuckuss with a pilot aboard. There might be a couple of Dreadnoughts in this deck as well. I'm not sure if Bastion's playing his old list, which is available in Chemp, in the shopping cart as one of the sample decks. So again, Justin just kind of pulling a docking bay, picking up a few cards. I will say that from Bastion's sample list, there was at least a Monarch in here, and it would not surprise me to know that Bastion's playing two Monarchs in a deck like this. And there we see Brangus. Brangus Superstar hitting the table. He's going inside Blizzard 2, so no EPP or lightsaber weapons going to be able to target this. It's also armor 8, so even something like Leia's Blaster is pretty difficult to hit it. It's only immune to less than 4 here. But in this format, a large number of light side characters will be rebels, and put all sections on alert very much comes into play when you're dealing with rebels at Death Star locations. So as we see Brangus' text, once per turn, exchange a docking bay from hand with top card of Lost Pile. Now, Bastion can't drain at the Death Star, and he doesn't really have any locations otherwise that are going to give him Force Drain ability. The primary source of damage in a deck like this is going to be battling. All right. Justin's got your Insight serves you well, which he'll play from hand and then immediately pitch it. You can place effect in Lost Pile to get an Endor or Death Star 2 icon effect that deploys for free and take it into hand. So he went and got Launching the Assault, which states once per game you can take home 1 into hand, which I'm sure is what he was really looking for. And your Force Drains are +1 at Battleground systems where you have a Star Cruiser piloted by a character. Luke goes with his lightsaber, Farm Boy Luke, to the Hoth docking bay. He does dig out the home 1. So Justin taking an interesting line of play here so far. Khmer Big Coward is not on the table, so he can drain currently at his non-battlegrounds. Not a lot of spies in this format. Pretty much just Mara Jade being your principal spy. Put all sections is an absolute grab, and this particular matchup, yes, you would definitely have to grab that. Hopefully, if you've got 2 or 3 grabbers, because there's a few other annoying cards you may see in this matchup. You may see something like Voyeur to cause extra force loss. You may see Sabek because Brangus is a gambler. There it is. So you can play Trooper Sabek, and there's a good number of used Destiny 5, Destiny 6 interrupts. That Masterful Move being the Destiny 6 card, and then a number of used 5s in a deck like this that you can stack the 2 of them together to get perfect Sabek and cause 2 force loss. Little things like that. and right on cue, we see the Khmer Big Coward from Bastion. So unless opponent occupies at least 2 battlegrounds, it cancels their force drains at non-battleground locations and their force retrieval. So battlegrounds being kind of limited in this matchup. No draining at the Death Star, no draining at Wakilimu, no draining at Alderaan. Darkseid can't drain there anyway because of the objective, but this is going to be definitely problematic depending on how and where Justin wants to. I mean, if he can stack up his spaceport docking bay, and they can fight over this for a while. It's a lot better than fighting over the Death Star docking bay because of the objectives text here, which says at Death Star sites your force drains and battle damage against you is canceled. You still take attrition, but no battle damage. All right, we're going to Persona replace Luke now. And there's Major Hashin. Hashin is the guy who cancels lateral damage, which is pretty key. Also does add 1 to hyperspeed and armor, making the ship a little harder to hit. And home 1 will be able to be hyperspeed 4, should it need to move anywhere. Another character that I've always liked that we don't get to see much in open play, just because of there's so many other more useful characters, is Oromarco here. It's the OG Endor Icon Rebel Scout, Power 4, Ability 4. When he's in a battle you just won against an Imperial, opponent must lose 2 force. So when those EPP Vaders show up to try and do some damage, he may cause some force loss back. And now we've got an Emperor Palpatine. Should be a couple of senses and altars, of course, being played here. Possibly. Brangus will get out. Bastion will play Force Lightning used to cycle a 5 back. And then Brangus will get right back in. Just getting a card out of his hand, putting a 5 back into his deck where he can track it 15 cards down, which is close to what he activates. So he can get pretty close to that next turn. And then in typical Bastion format, he's going to draw a monster hand, so he will have everything he could possibly need. He's up to 19 and counting. He typically plays Monarch and Grimtosh in his decks to punish his opponent for doing the exact same thing that he's doing. But more often than not, a lot of other players don't include it in their decks. It's a little more popular in this format, more so on dark side with Monarch, because light side, one of the key popular decks here was like the hidden base X-Wing type deck, or really any type of hidden base space deck, or we saw the TIG speeder deck also be pretty popular in this format. So certainly more common for Monarch to be played than Grimtosh. Alright, Bastion's going to get drained for 2. He's going to lose an Ellis from hand and a counter assault from hand. This is another way that Darkside does damage in this particular matchup. Let your opponent kind of pile up a couple of characters. Oh, now Justin's going to get out some of his force denial cards here. We've got Civil Disorder, we'll start with first. Deploy on their side of table. At end of opponent's deploy phase, if they did not deploy a card with ability, they lose 2 force. This is lost if they have more cards with ability on table than you do. Currently we're talking about 6 light side versus 3 dark side. So it's going to kind of force Bastion to deploy something every turn or lose 2 force. Then we've got Gunite. This cancels Mayamona's game text and surprise, but most importantly what it does is it makes opponent's characters of ability greater than 2 deploy +2. So EPP Vader would cost 8 instead of 9. I'm sorry, instead of 6. He's going to cost 9 because of restricted deployment. Getting a little ahead of myself there. This one makes all opponents' warriors deploy +1. So Justin's going to go with the slow and steady route for force loss here. He's going to rely on Civil Disorder. Possibly Order to Engage may show up at some point as well. And then just drain for 2 for as long as he can here. Kind of, Bastion's not doing any damage on the Death Star. He can have this as far as Justin's concerned for now. It's not really a great opportunity to interact with this anyway. He's not going to cause any battle damage that he could win a big battle and make Bastion peel a bunch of cards. The Emperor is completely immune to attrition there, so unless you hit him with the weapon, he's not going anywhere. Yes, Kunite does cancel surprise if you're worried about running into Scott there. Um, but there's a shield that cancels Kunite, right? So, all right. Now Bastion's going to commit cards to the board for his first Force Drain opportunity. We've got Zuckist and Mist Hunter along with Forlom, who adds a Battle Destiny. Brangus is going to get out. He's going to get Force Lightning again, which Bastion just took in the hand. So he's moving the Force Lightning around. He couldn't quite get to it last turn. It was a couple, 3 or 4 cards down. So he used the Emperor, took it into hand. Now he'll play it again, and now it's within striking distance. Justin's going to signal for Honor of the Jedi, which is a decent card in this matchup because Darkseid will not unlikely to occupy 3 battlegrounds. There's currently only 3 on the table, so that extra point of damage that first strike would cause will be nullified. Bastion would still get to retrieve 1 for initiating battles, but the force loss is more of what Justin's concerned about right now. And I'm sure we'll see the home 1 show up at some point, and these 3 guys will move up to the bridge. You got 16 power here to try and cover that with 3 Battle Destiny. Not the easiest thing to do. Here's one of the other sources of damage of a deck like this is 3,720 to 1 in terms of numbers. So it would compare Darkseid's 3 lowest Destiny characters, which would currently be 9, against Lightside's current 3 Destiny characters, which would be 3. Curious to see Bastion just throw that away. Oh, he top decked it. Never mind. He threw away Mara from hand and then top decked never the odds. And the first thing he does is use Brangus to put that into hand. That's going to be another key method. He can cause some damage here when that would pop. Actually, it's 12 because I forgot Forlom's on the table over here. So right now it would be 12 to 3. And Justin would be peeling 9 cards if that insert were to pop. Now he gets Honor out. That'll cut the force loss down by 2, but, I mean, he'd still lose 7 cards in that scenario. And there is the home 1 hitting the table. And the key card that would cancel that would be Your Insight Serves You Well, which is what Justin threw away earlier to get launching the assault to get the home 1 out. It's 2 cards down in his loss pile. We'll see if Bastion wants to play the barrier here. Zuckus is a little outmatched, but he is getting 2 Battle Destiny. Destiny in this deck is pretty good. Home 1's only immune to less than 8. It would be a pretty risky move for Justin to initiate battle here. No barrier. It'd be a calculated risk. Probably not one worth taking, though. You've got 3 pretty key pilots over there. Bastion could obviously play another ship. He could play Dengar and Punishing One. He could play, Bosk and Houndstooth, or Fett and Slave One to give himself more power. But other than Fett, he would need a pilot character as well to get his ability high enough. Oh. There's the Draw Their Fire. And there's the Honor of the Jedi as well. So this will stop the force loss. Now you have to wonder, is it... I have to believe he's going to battle here if he's playing that. He's going to take his chances. He's going to retrieve the 2 force to get the insight back, which he knows he's going to need to cancel, and he makes a comment about it, that he's going to need it to cancel 3,720 to 1. Bastion will have to lose 2 cards here as well. Going to come down to some blind destiny draws here. You know, Justin kind of gambling a little bit. Bastion top decks a barrier. That would have gotten him halfway there. And there goes an Ig with Riot Gun off the top. So there are a few characters in this deck that are designed to just hit and run, and that's what the Blast Door Controls is for, is to make sure that that battle goes through and those guys don't get stuck on the table, because then you subtract from the Never Tell Me the Odds total. Bastion's going to pull a Force Lightning out, and he's going to shuffle his deck. He took a 5 out. Lightside draws a 5. That would be the signal. Now it's not going to do anything because of Zuckus's text there. This would have been a great 5. It would have cleared both characters. And he draws exactly 8. Started off good with the Emperor's Shield, or the Emperor's Sword rather, the tie. But the home one is going to go away here. Justin also now loses his second battleground in the process. We'll see if Obi moves over now. Yeah, Obi's going to move over. And Blount will move over to join the party as well. Definitely a calculated risk, but he needed to get the odds back, the odds canceller. All right, now here we go with the masterful move. So he pays 1, plays a 6, and now he'll play the Force Lightning to shock Brangus. And now he'll have that perfect 6-5 set up. I'm sure Justin's looking for another copy of the signal so he can use it to go get that insight back into hand. He does save 3 force. So Bastion will have a drain at 2 over here. He activated right to the 6-5. So certainly likely that we'll see him play Sabak here in a minute and cause 2 more force loss. There goes the 3,720 to 1. And now Bastion's going to play Monarch Lost to reveal Justin's hand. So we've got Boosh, a grabber, order to engage, Luke Jedi Knight, battle plan, balanced attack, sense, wedge, and the signal. if you're Justin in this situation, it's almost like next turn you don't activate, you just pay 3, pick up the the insight into hand, uh, skip the rest of your activate phase, drain for 3 at this docking bay, and then play. Uh, your insight serves you well to cancel the insert and don't risk it popping and taking any damage. There's the Trooper Sabak. So, Sabak. Each player draws 2 cards to start with. You can draw up to 5. You draw them off the top of your deck. The trick is to get closest to 11 without going over. You need a Gambler or Trooper out of sight. These are wild cards that you can use as a 2 or a 7, or clone cards that you can clone the destiny number of another card in your hand. Justin's going to play Sense to try and cancel it. Bastion will grab the Sense, and he draws a Jedi Luke. So the Sense fails. The Sabak goes through. So now we're going to get our little Sabak side game. Bastion will draw the top 2 cards. Obviously, I said closest to 11 without going over. If you have exactly 11 with 2 cards and no wild cards or clone cards, that's called perfect Sabak. You win immediately, and your opponent, you win double the damage. So in this case, Sabak here had stakes listed on it. 1 transport vehicle without armor, or 1 character weapon. So if your opponent had either of those as their Sabak cards, you would steal it, and it would now become yours. If they don't have anything for stakes, you get to pick one of their cards in their Sabak hand for them to lose. The perfect Sabak doubles the stakes, so you would steal both if possible, or cause them to lose a card if possible. It does also do that. It does also get him closer to the top of possibly popping that insert as well. It's a good point in the chat there. So he just moved 3 cards off the top of his deck in that case. The Sense that failed. And curiously, and Justin's going to play the balanced attack now to kind of shuffle his deck around a little bit as well. Yeah, I got to be honest here in this situation. Being that it is a differential event, and if that insert pops right now, it's going to be 12-3, and you're going to peel 7 cards off your deck. I don't think I'd activate this turn. Justin just went to verify his deck to see where they never tell me the odds was, and it didn't verify it for him because it's his opponent's card. So he's just verifying in the chat. He's like, "You put that in my deck, right?" And Bastion acknowledges that he did. Justin chooses to activate 3. And it does not pop. I'm not sure what he needed 3 force for. We saw his hand earlier. Boosh, don't care about. The grabbers would be free with wise advice. Order to engage is probably the one you need 2 force to deploy that. Bastion did have to deploy this tie to satisfy civil disorder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8-5 currently. Does get drained for 3. Throws away from hand Brangus Glee and Janus Grijatis. And then top decks Bosk and Houndstooth. Insight hits the table now. Scanning Crew and 3,720-1 are canceled. And Justin's just going to draw a couple cards here. So it didn't automatically just cancel the insert. I guess when it won't cancel it now, it'll cancel it once it's revealed. Both players still have over 30 minutes left on their timers. Bastion's got 13 in hand plus 16 left face down, so that's 29 total. Justin's got 19, 18 down now, and 9 in hand, so he's got 27 total. So still pretty even in terms of overall life force counts. In terms of damage output, this is a drain of 2, this is a drain of 3. Civil disorder may or may not end up causing some extra force loss. Let's kind of see what else Bastion has that he can keep deploying. Jedi OSU, thank you for renewing your subscription for month number 5. We appreciate your support. And don't forget to hit that, at least the follow button if you're not already following us, so you get updates for our live streams. And if you're watching on the replay on YouTube later, be sure to subscribe to us there as well, so you get updates when new videos are posted. Okay. Bastion drains for 2. Justin throws away the Luke Jedi Knight from hand and the battle plan from hand. Not going to want to make either player pay to drain. And now Bastion's going to try and cancel Civil Disorder, I think, by deploying a whole pile of characters. So we start with Janice and Simu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He needs 2 more to have more on table than Justin in order to cancel it. Oh, he does not have 2 extra characters. Alright, so Janice gives you the ability to put a card on the bottom of your used pile and draw 1. Very similar to Mirax Terex for light side. Deploys -3 to the Emperor's site, but because of Goonie Te was an additional 2. Simu also has the deploy minus to the Emperor. Adds a battle destiny, and once per turn, you can use a force to peek at top card of opponent's reserve deck and then move that to the bottom. So just another way to manipulate your opponent's deck a little bit, possibly to cause that odds to get a little closer to popping. Also, if you happen to be tracking a bad destiny of theirs or a good destiny of theirs, you can do that and move some stuff around. If you know your opponent's going to want to activate some force to battle, you can manipulate their deck a little bit that way. All right, Bastion. Justin is going to grab the Sabak the second time here. I'm sure Bastion's got the same 6-5 setup. That is also the other advantage. Yep, 6-5 again. He's going to lose the sense and the balanced attack from Justin. Because of the way they go back into your use pile as well, the 6-5 go used, then the Sabak would resolve, and then that would go used. So it sits on top, so you just activate to the Sabak, use Janice, take the Sabak into hand, and then immediately play it because you've got the 6-5 perfect setup again. And you can just keep looping that over and over to do 2 damage. I was a little surprised Justin didn't grab it the first time around. And there you go. There's the 3720 has just been canceled. All right. Bastion's going to drain. Justin's going to drain for 3. Bastion's got the Projective Telepathy, which is a card we do still see play in today's format. Initiated a battle or force drain. They have to use 2 or cancel it. So he will pay the 2 to keep the drain alive. Bastion will lose that projective that he just played and find 2 other cards to lose as well. Yeah, see, projective says anger, fear, aggression when it is inserted or revealed is when you cancel it. The insight here just says scanning crew and 3720 to 1 are canceled. So I would think that this would work slightly differently. Maybe there's a ruling about it somewhere. Or maybe this card has text that was slightly tweaked. But it would make sense that this would just automatically cancel it wherever it is. Maybe there's something because it's in your reserve deck until it's revealed it's a unit of force, yada yada, blah blah blah. Um, Not 100% sure on the mechanics of that one, but uh, the cards are worded slightly differently. All right. In addition to that projective, Bastion also loses a Twi'lek Advisor from hand and a Baron Suntir Fel from hand. There's order to engage. Not really sure how Justin's going to take advantage of that right now. He's not going to want to move to the docking bay because then he's going to let his opponent retrieve 2 cards for initiating those battles, which he's likely to do. He's got decent power here. He's got 2 Battle Destiny because of the Emperor and Simalu. He knows where a 6/5 is, so he could easily, draw 11 in total Battle Destiny. Sean, thank you for renewing your subscription as well. Also for month number 5. So we're still kind of about even on life force counts down. Bastion's got 9 and 4. He's got 13 cards face down. Justin has 16 cards face down, but has more in hand. I'm sorry, Bastion has more in hand. Justin played a weapon lev to search his used pile, and then asked for a revert, which Bastion granted. Bastion doesn't usually grant reverts when new information has been obtained, so... And now we've got Wedge showing up. I could have sworn we saw Wedge Red Squadron Leader earlier. He's going to play Wedge Antilles, the A New Hope version, so he's playing both Wedges. Now, this particular Wedge is a beast. He's deployed for 2. He's forfeit 8. Now Bastion's asking about that weapon lev. Looks like Justin played the weapon lev and then accidentally passed to his battle phase. And then wanted to revert that and accidentally reverted the weapon lev. His 2 lightsabers are presumably on the table already, so rather than revert it again and have to redeploy everybody, Bastion just says, just play it now. So he denies the revert. They play the weapon lev, reveals the used pile. He revealed more cards, so this is actually bonus information for Bastion. And now the Emperor tries to take a Force Lightning, which is not there. And Justin gets to verify. So 2 more characters hit the table for light side. 3, 6, bringing their total to 10, 5, 6, 7. So now dark side would need to deploy 4 cards to cancel Civil Disorder, or just keep deploying one card a turn. We already saw Amara go to the lost pile. He's probably playing 2 of her. We haven't seen Vader yet. Should still have a couple other ships as well. Justin throws away to the drain of 2. The Hoth War Room doesn't need to force at this point. And another copy of Wedge Antilles. Alright. There is that EPP Vader. Getting him out now while he can, because he does cost 9 force. Bastion's got 13 down and 9 in hand for 22 total. Justin's got 14 down plus 3 in hand for 17 total life force. And now Bastion is going to docking bay transit all of his guys over. If they just kept draining for 3 and 2, and eventually Civil Disorder would kick in and start causing some extra damage because Bastion's running out of people he can deploy. He moves over and he's going to play the circle is now complete to circle Obi. Vader wins the duel 8-7, and Obi is placed out of play. Well, that'll certainly shake things up a little bit. Justin's going to play an out of commission. Bastion's going to grab that. Ellis Hellrock gets placed out of play. Does shuffle his opponent's lost pile, though. Might change the order of some things. And now the tie is going to land, just giving him some extra forfeit at that site. Justin's going to use Wedge Antilles text. Use a force to take a Corellian slip into hand. No Corellian slip, but he's verifying his reserve deck, moving a card around. Here comes a trample. He's going to try and trample Jedi Luke. Did he track around? He tracked around a mournful roar. And just trampled Jedi Luke. That's a big turn. Now they're tied up 8-8, so Civil Disorder not in effect. That was a very big turn for Bastion there. He just cut down all of Justin's damage in one big move. He used Janice presumably to set up that 7 on the bottom. And set up the trample. Now, obviously he took away the force drain potential here. If you're Justin, you could trigger Order to Engage by basically docking bay transiting all your guys in front of the Emperor. You know, the Emperor's not going to take any battle damage, so he could still battle to do the retrieval. And now he's going to trample Han with the same 7. He used Janice to take the trample right back into hand. Again, the same way the cards get resolved. Now Civil Disorder is lost because he's got more cards with ability. That was a very big swing of things. And this is one of the hallmarks of this Brangus deck, is the way that it kind of manipulates the board state with the force advantage, the force manipulation with cards like Surprise, with cards like Trample and Sabak and things like that. These random other ways of causing damage other than just battling and force draining. And then using somebody like Janice to set up certain destinies, playing key interrupts to put the right cards together. So Justin deploys Bosch and then breaks recover. He's going to initiate battle. He's going to predict that Bastion wins. Khmer, you big coward, is going to kick in and is going to stop the forced retrieval. So no retrieval for Bastion. I'm sorry, for Justin. But Bastion will have to lose 2 cards. He loses a set for stun from hand, which oh yes, that would be one of the other hallmarks is the overload. Tracking around Admiral Ozzel or one of the sites if you happen to retrieve the docking bay. Uh, he lost the trample from his used pile, and then he swapped with the docking bay with Brangus to get the trample back into hand. And he's going to play the trample again. He's going to take out Wedge to get rid of the big forfeit. Draws an Emperor for that. So there goes 2 power, but more importantly, 8 forfeit. You have to think Vader swings at Bosch here. She's got the highest forfeit remaining. She'll be hitting now, forfeit 0. Moving in front of the Emperor definitely does not sound like a good idea right now. Again, he's immune to attrition and takes no battle damage, and you don't have any weapons at all, so you move here in front of him, and all you'd really be doing is letting him retrieve 2 cards with first strike and draw their fire. So Justin correctly predicts that he's going to win, but he can't retrieve because a coward. He'll have 3 attrition and 5 battle damage, so he can lose both characters here. And basically clear the site. And this may be all the damage Justin's capable of doing in this game at this point. He may be able to hit and run. I mean, Obi's out of play. He's already lost a couple of Lukes. There's always the possibility he could like deploy. I mean, these guys I'm sure are gonna split up possibly to balance this out a little bit. Maybe not. He doesn't really need to because, again, not taking battle damage here with the Emperor. So you can kind of leave everybody piled up here. He'll drain for 2 and 1 now. And just, now Justin's kind of on a clock where he's either going to draw up and end the game before Bastion find ways to put more cards back, or he'll do like a hit and run battle or 2 and just, try and fight the Emperor to cause a few extra overflow with the draw their fire first strike swings. It's really the only sorts of damage Justin has at this point. This is definitely a deck that has a very high skill level to correctly play. The basic concept is easy. You kind of just use Brangus and loop cards around, and you battle with Vader and you retrieve and they lose, and you just take them right back into hand and keep doing it over and over again. But there are a lot more nuances to play it as effectively and efficiently as possible. It does take a lot of practice. A lot of mental fatigue comes with playing a deck like this in a longer tournament because of all the multiple cards you may be tracking through your deck and the high focus and decision making that you need to to use throughout the day. Playing a deck like this, 4 times in an 8-game tournament, and then possibly in a type of playoff scenario, you know, a lot easier to do when you're 22 than when you're 42. Justin gets drained, loses Yoda's hut, throws away the Luke Jedi Knight off the top, and a weapon lev from hand. At this point, he's just going to go to his draw phase and draw up and take the loss by 15. Bastion's going to cycle a card back with Janice, see if he picks up something that he can then play. Perhaps a masterful move or something. Nope, doesn't find anything. Justin's going to tunnel vision to take his last card into hand. Puts 1 extra card in his loss pile. Not sure if it'll matter for life force totals, but Bastion's going to get a win by 15 here. Loss piles. Actually, it doesn't resolve. There you go. It didn't actually go to his loss pile. Because as soon as you take the card into hand, you're dead before you then flip it around. Justin commenting in the chat that game was more competitive than he thought it would be. And obviously there are ways that specific ways to build Throne Room to make it more competitive against this type of deck. The deck lists were all submitted and locked in for the top 8, so they're not allowed to change. And they are going to play game 2. Bastion's got about 90 minutes left before he needs to leave. So they're going to wrap this game up here. And then in just a minute, they'll get game 2 started. And we'll update our stream info. In just a second. The winner of this matchup will advance to take on the winner of our other semifinal match, which has not been scheduled yet, but will take place between Hayes Hunter and reigning world champion Joe Olson and reigning MPC champion Joe Olson. Those two guys are teammates, so they're obviously very familiar with each other, but again, deck lists are locked in, so even if they wanted to make any changes at this point, not really anything they could do. The only thing you can change is your playstyle. Yeah, certainly some interesting possibilities. If Bastion were to advance here, Hayes versus Bastion is like a Twin Towers kind of matchup between who's the tallest player. It's Eric Hunter, by the way. Actually, he's taller than both of them. And if it's Bastion versus Joe in the finals, well, then you've got the you've got the most recent world champions playing each other back to back. And at this point, if Justin were to, looks like they're just getting going here. If Justin were to come back and win this matchup, then you'd have interesting. First off, it'd be congratulations to him for pulling off the comeback, and then you'd have the interesting possibilities of Justin versus Joe, two world champion Hall of Famers who had some disagreements on the forums over the years. Or Justin versus Hayes, who kind of grew up in the same Massachusetts area playing against each other in the late 90s, early 2000s, uh, where Hayes probably got the better of most of those matchups. Um, Hayes was one of the top 10 ranked players in the world in the Decipher era. And, Justin being a little younger, Justin, Steve, Mike kind of coming up, started to hit their stride, 2000, 2001 going forward into, having some great success in '02 and '03 um, during that transition from the Decipher era to the Players Committee. So you'd like to believe that, you'd think that in the late 90s, 99, 2000, Hayes was probably still getting the better of more of those matchups. So certainly would be a comeback here. And I believe those two players played in 2008, 2009, the last time we did a big premiere to Death Star 2 event. Those were the two finalists. So that would also be a potential rematch there. '2009 retro event. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Height clearly helps in Star Wars. Yeah, you can see. Look, you can look right down and see your opponent's hand because everybody plays like this. All right. So we got 3 effect Profit, pull some docking bays, cancel some senses and alters, insight to make guys defense value minus. Justin gets a bad feeling out right away to make all of the main characters with ability deploy +2. An opponent may not play any cards with the words bad feeling in title. Justin goes for the docking bay activation as well as Crush the Rebellion, which will let him take Evader or I Have You Now into hand. I can also cancel Clash of Sabers. He does get Lord Vader out right away to the Endor docking bay and pulls Rendili with mob points. Flips his objective, and Bastion has to take 1 ping damage, which he throws away a copy of I Know from hand. Dylan, thank you for renewing your subscription for month number 21. And Martino, thank you for your first month subscription. We appreciate your support. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. Jets RDM used to host tournaments in Central Mass, so used to get to see Hayes and Justin face off on a regular basis. Okay. So Bastion's gonna play Projection of a Skywalker. And it created a long pause when it was deployed. Projection is not immune to alter when it's deploying to make a drain -1. There was a long pause where Jemp was giving Justin the opportunity to respond to it, to presumably play an alter that he has in hand, which Bastion picks up on very astutely and comments on in the chat. Damn, better not play my honor now, I guess. That was a long pause. To which Justin replies, that's Jemp in a nutshell. So if you were to play honor to avoid taking visage damage, there's a good possibility that Justin has an alter in hand and would immediately cancel it. Honor is only immune to alter while Lightside occupies a battleground. And one of the key ways Huntdown is successful is by Lightside players forgetting that. And just sort of pitching Insight to get Honor and playing Honor right away to stop the visage damage, and Darkside having an alter in hand and using Vader to immediately cancel it. That's certainly something that, tips the scales back in Darkside's favor, because Huntdown is very difficult to play when Honor is out and successful, because most of the time then it means you're losing to your card and they're not. I think this format would be a lot more interesting with the Jabba's Palace sealed deck cards that were the next set that were released, so we would have no escape. I think and Unita. I think that completely changes the dynamic of the format between No Escape canceling Honor and Unita punishing Ral Ops and all the diamond sites. So perhaps if this type of event were to be run again in the future, maybe we just add that set and just see how drastically different it really does make things. Heck, just add those two cards. Just add Unita and No Escape, and let's see what happens. Yeah, there is an option if you go into the options and you can set an action timer to mimic. So it'll do that for all of your actions. It'll have like a 3 second or 5 second pause. If you're worried about your timer, of course, you don't want to keep doing that constantly. But there is a feature to do that, so it doesn't tip your hand that you have an action, as long as you know just do that 3 second delay and then move on. All right. So Bastion spent his turn. He activated, he pulled the docking bay, he threw the projection down to make this a drain of 0. And he drew a bunch of cards. Visage kicked in, and we saw, I have a very bad feeling about this. Opponent just deployed 4 or more characters, prevent all those characters from battling this turn, so stops you from getting beat down. Or if opponent just reacted to a battle, you can cancel it, because bad feeling prevents him from doing that. Justin gets a Piet to the docking bay, and then uses a force and moves Mara over. So now he's going to try and just get some force drain pressure going. He does save 1 force back, presumably to play the Hujix that Jabba's going to need. Yep, there's the Luke Jedi Knight. That'll flip the hunt down objective back. And now Honor will hit the table. So as I mentioned earlier, immune to alter while you occupy any battleground. Yeah, Premiere through Reflections 2 would be a drastically different format. All right, so he's going to battle. Justin's got the Projective Telepathy to cancel that battle. And now he's going to move over and duel with Mara. He's going to Vader's Obsession to put Luke out of play. And then his objective along with it. Yeah. Yeah, if you do Premiere through Reflections 2, I think Watch Your Step becomes a very problematic light side, and without any types of shields, it's Watch Your Step and Brangus then are probably your 2 most popular deck types in that format. They certainly were 2 of the biggest decks available at that time. All right. So, Darkside's going to activate here. Mara's going to drain for 3 and activate a force because of Jabba. Bastion's going to top deck Akbar. How do we get into this mess? And a second projection. Justin's going to look for a docking bay that is not there. He did lose Coward to the Visage damage. Did that come from? That came off the top. And Bastion threw away his Tatooine docking bay. Presumably he will not need that. get an IG-88 with Riot Gun. Possibly maybe a 4-lom to add an extra destiny. Nope. Ig adds a destiny when he is alone or with your other bounty hunter. Oh, we get a you cannot hide forever to make Jedi defense value -1. So maybe he's going to try and capture Luke. He would just need a 5 to do it. A little early to be tracking, but if you happen to know what your destinies look like. Hey, look at that. He blind draws a 5 and captures Luke. You have to ask yourself who's going to seize him and who's going to send it used. This game's certainly getting off to a very good start for Justin. Ig will take him. That's going to flip Hunt down back. Bastion's certainly having trouble getting his activation going. He's only activating 8. Not really a big threat. While Justin's activating 15. Very good start for Justin in this matchup here. Now he can alter the honor of the Jedi because there's no people at Battlegrounds. He draws an Emperor. That's the unfortunate downside to playing those Emperors and only having Vader on table. You know, a lot of hunt down builds in this era ran 2 to 3 copies of Altar. Maybe he'll draw another one soon here. Now, Do or Do Not is also out, so the Altar did go lost. See if Justin picks up another copy here. And with only 8 force, even with his guys, you know, and his guys deploying +2 from the early bad feeling as well. Bastion top decking rendezvous point now. It's going to be very tough for him to get activation here. There's a Hoth docking bay now. After losing the first game by 15, this is definitely the start that Justin needed to really put the early pressure on and you know, try and dictate the match here. And not losing to his own visage for an extended period of time is also very beneficial in terms of his damage output. With only 9 force, you know, Obi-Wan costs 7. He's your only other Jedi you can really play. And Luke's captured, so. And there is Mr. Ben Kenobi, right on schedule. And Justin's got the barrier. So Obi-Wan will not be battling. Justin's got 14 cards in hand. He's activating 15 force. There's no Gunite to increase the deploy cost of his characters. So Mara Jade's definitely going to get some backup here. And possibly swing and hit Obi, making him forfeit 0. And then drawing, you know, Battle Destiny on top of it. So Justin throws away security precautions. Bastion top decks Red Leader. Presumably that's part of his how do we get into this mess setup. Seeking an audience would be something that, you know, possibly being started as a third effect here would be something that would really accelerate this deck quite a bit. The ability to get R2 out from the reserve deck and then start looping around the how do we get into this messes. So just another way that Jabba's Palace Seal deck cards would augment this format a little bit. Justin's going to get his mobile docking bay out. May see Vader shuffle over to there. There's Fett in Slave 1. Going to space. Nope. Mara's just going to move. Vader's going to move. Yep. Mara moves back to the audience chamber. Obi can't drain there. Luke's captured. Not many other options. I guess Justin didn't have any other characters in hand. He's going to draw a monster hand here. Oh, is Seeking not immune to alter? You can't start Seeking? I thought it was. Maybe I'm just thinking of the virtual version, that is. I'm going to have to go look it up. No, the original Seeking is not immune to alter, so you cannot start it. Okay. So you would have to... You could do a one effect start and just signal to start it to then trigger your deck to then get R2 out and then play the messes. But you need to put them out of Scomp Link, which you won't have without the docking bays. So yeah, that's not exactly gonna change too much. It would certainly be a card you could add to the deck to try and improve your consistency. But it's not going to make it as easy or automatic. So Vader moved over, can drain for 1. Fett's there, can drain for 1. There's no force draining going on here. Both players currently losing 1 force to Visage of the Emperor. We get 7 force for Chewie with Blaster Rifle. And 2 force for Nemeth. Ability 2 characters. It's 2 to deploy cost of each opponent's male Imperial when they're applying to same or adjacent site. Just going to block that drain of 1 and then draw a card. Obviously, you know, Bastion winning the first game by 15. Justin sitting with 18 cards face down and 15 cards in hand still. So plenty of cards to lose from hand. Bastion's trying to, you know, at least make him work for it a little bit. Bastion's still with plenty of cards in his own deck. He's got 28 cards left face down. Only 4 in hand. And he's only activating 10 right now. And with all his guys costing extra because of bad feeling. Alright, now we've got an Emperor showing up in the audience chamber. And a Janus as well. Justin's going to start cycling some cards back, seeing what he can pick up here. Seeing if he can find a Vader's lightsaber. Maybe just even a force field. The Emperor will also give him another way to peek at destinies and move stuff around. He can start tracking a Force Lightning around to set up a good destiny draw. Yep, I agree, Steel, or Dark Deal. Definitely big thanks to our marketing advocate, Jared, for organizing this event. I know a lot of players had a lot of fun with it. Certainly a good way to engage a different section of the Star Wars community, the players who, uh, you know, aren't comfortable playing with virtual cards or prefer not to, and just play with Decipher only stuff. So it's a good way to get a number of them engaged. We certainly saw a few of them in the top 8 of this event, players who typically don't play a lot in open format events. And Justin does play the Force Lightning to cycle it back and set up a decent destiny draw for himself. Visage damage kicks in. Bastion loses a Wedge Antilles Red Squadron leader off the top. And Justin throws away an extra copy of Janice. And now he'll use Janice, the one that's on the table, to cycle a card back and set up a destiny. We're on turn 5 here. Both players still over 35 minutes on their timers. Bastion basically just activates and goes right to his draw phase. The longer the game goes, the more damage Visage gets to do, the better things are for Bastion. Obviously, with Luke captured and Obi already on the table, there's not a lot going on here. This is a very slow, grindy game. Both players are losing 1 a turn, each set of turns to Visage. Fett's draining for 1 in space. But, Bastion still has almost 30, he has 31 cards left. So if it's going to take 15 turns for him to lose those 30 cards, at this rate. Well, not exactly. 10 turns? Lose 20 from Visage and 10 from Force Drains. At which time Justin will have lost enough cards that Bastion would win the match. So it's going to be up to Justin to actually do something to change the board state a little bit to increase his damage, and whether that's Vader getting his lightsaber and clearing out this docking bay, or Mara moving over and getting some friends and somebody getting rid of Obi-Wan. If he just tracked a 5 around, if he tracked a Force Lightning or something he put back, there you go, there's the lightsaber. He could use any ability 4 character to take out Ben Kenobi. Just draw the tracked 5, get him off the table. We did see Bastion play old Ben. We did see it go into his lost pile earlier. That revives anybody except Obi-Wan. So if you can get Obi off the table and just have Visage only doing damage to the light side player, that also would help things along a little bit. But we are going to get that battle at the docking bay. Do we have a clash? You know, if there was like a blast the door kit or something to avoid this battle, that would certainly be beneficial for light side here. We haven't seen Justin get his first weapons phase action yet, so Bastion may be debating it. And he points out in the chat that he thinks a blind run Luke run is his only hope here. So I guess in terms of either he's going for a fallen portal. He's going to try and fallen portal Vader. He blind draws R2 for 5. But because Vader has his lightsaber now, he's defense value +2. And that will miss. So Vader's defense value 8, -1 from insight, making him 7. Fallen portal. Draw destiny. Target immediately lost if destiny +2 greater than total defense value. So Chewie's going to get hit. He's made forfeit 0. Chewie will shoot back. Presumably there's a force field. He may not opt to shoot. He does not shoot. Justin draws the 5 for Battle Destiny. And there's another R2 for Battle Destiny, which is a second 5. Power doesn't take any battle damage, but this Vader's immune to less than 6. So both light side characters die. Dark side lives to see another day. And he's just going to go to his draw phase. He'll sit on 16. He's got 11 cards left in hand. And we'll see what other characters Senior Zlorfik has up his sleeve. I know what else he can do here. The Fallen Portal certainly makes it a lot more difficult to get rid of Obi-Wan, that's for sure. Because it works at docking bays or Jabba's palace. So even if, say, Mara were to move over with a couple other characters and battle into Obi-Wan, we could easily see a Fallen Portal targeting Mara Jade. She's only defense value 5. You're drawing at +2. Very likely you get rid of her with the high destinies that are in this deck. You just need a 4 or better to do it. He just drew 2 5s, so he could easily set that up. Fallen Portal's a 4. The how do we get into this messes, I believe, are 4s. As well as a number of other light side interrupts like Weapon Lev and that kind of stuff. So very likely that Mara Jade goes away and never gets to swing at Obi, and then he just lives. You would almost rather just throw like a random utility character out, although most of them are on the table already. But any random ability for utility character, since he just played a Fallen Portal, maybe he doesn't have a second one. Bastion's going to drop Lando with Blaster Pistol to the home 1 docking bay. Now again, he's only activating 10 force and his main characters are deploy +2. So it may take him a turn or two to kind of piece together a pile of characters to then move over in front of Vader. And Justin's going to barrier him just because he can. Puts another card back in his deck, puts a 4 where he can easily track it around as well. And of course, I want to thank all you guys again for tuning in this morning. Those of you just joining the chat here, just waking up. We appreciate you watching the stream. We appreciate all of your follows and subscriptions on both Twitch and YouTube. And if you're watching the replay later on YouTube, thank you for watching the content here. We missed you in the live chat, but obviously, we know time zones are a thing, and this match started very early in the East Coast. All right. Janice is so Justin picks up and I Have You Now with Crush the Rebellion, and then uses Janice and cycles a card back. Presumably the same I Have You Now he just took into hand. Puts a 5 where he can easily track it, and now we'll see if he has any character with ability high enough or a game text that allows him to draw a Destiny if unable to otherwise. That could possibly, go battle Ben Kenobi. Bastion top decks and On the Edge. It's another card that could certainly extend the game if you could retrieve force. No secret plans, no come here you big coward out. So if you could set up a Destiny and retrieve 4 or 5 cards, targeting Ben Kenobi in that situation, could certainly extend the game further. And that's really all he's trying to do here. It'd be very difficult for Bastion to win this game, given the board state and the fact that Luke's captured being the biggest limiting factor. But all he's really trying to do is extend this game as long as possible. Just really needs to make Justin lose 10 more cards. And if he can keep Visage active, keep Ben alive, and keep Visage doing damage to both players. Oh, Justin's going to mess up his tracking here. He's going to peek at what's available in his reserve deck. So Bastion had to lose 3 cards to Force Drains there. He lost a Master Luke, a C-3PO, and a Were You Looking For Me, all from his reserve deck. So presumably he really likes those 12 cards in his hand. Mara Jade will move over. And now the question is will she bring some friends? She's going to take Janice with her. Not worried about Clash. Obi, first off, doesn't have a lightsaber, but he also has Crush that would enable him to cancel it. Jabba will move over as well, so he's got 3 characters, and he'll take Chiranu as well. So we've got 3 characters there with high ability, all capable of drawing Battle Destiny. Presumably he's got a number of 5s floating in that reserve deck that would allow him to get rid of Ben Kenobi. There's the On the Edge. He says 4. He draws the tracked R2 for Destiny. It is successful. He will get to retrieve 4 cards. So he'll get back the 3 cards he just lost to the Force Drain, plus the On the Edge, which was the last card he lost to Visage. That was not good for Justin. Anything that extends this game longer is definitely going to be a problem. And he did lose Community Big Coward very early on in this game. I think it was one of the first cards that he lost off the top. There's a Force Lightning used to cycle that back as well. So Ben Kenobi kind of caught between a rock and a hard place here. Obviously staring down these guys is pretty intimidating. Possibly if he has a Fallen Portal, he can get rid of Mara, at least take the lightsaber out. He'd retain his forfeit. Probably still going to die to attrition. He's going to need some help. So their option would be to move here, but then he's going to get Force Lightning used to be defense value -4, and then Ig's going to capture him. So you'd have to believe that Bastion's play here, if he can't get, too many extra characters down to support Ben Kenobi, it's going to be to find the Fallen Portal again. Bastion does throw away a How Do We Get Into This Mess from hand for his Visage Ping. Justin loses an Evader from hand. Bastion still with plenty of force remaining. He's got 15 cards face down plus 10 in hand. Justin's got 16 down plus 8 in hand. So Justin definitely ahead on board position, on damage output. But again, Bastion not trying to win this game. He's just trying to lose by less than 15. And we're going to start with Biggs Darklighter. Good old Biggs. And there's the order to engage. So he's going to try and cause some force loss if Justin doesn't battle him. Does he have any other characters he can put down, though? You got to believe he's got the Fallen Portal then, and Mara's going to go bye-bye. And Biggs does forfeit for 5, so blind drawing that I have you now, or that Force Lightning, or that he's tracked, not really blind drawing it, but tracking one of those cards around, would only get rid of Biggs. And then he would end up getting revived right back. Justin would have to And then Obi's got a lightsaber now. Justin would have to track around an Emperor or something bigger, an extra copy of Visage or something like that, to get rid of Ben Kenobi. Well, players here really taking a little more time these last turn or two with just how exactly they want to set everything up. All right. Bastion's not going to battle. He's going to go to his battle phase. He's done deploying. And Justin's going to pull a Force Lightning, and he'll presumably play it to then put it back on the... Oh, he's going to Janus it back. I'm sorry, he could be Janusing something else back, and then playing... He's going to play an Imperial Command. Okay. No generals. No admirals to take into hand. And then we'll see, possibly, depending on if you put the Force Lightning back or if you put another card back and then Force Lightning goes on top of it. Could be setting up some decent Destiny draws here. Forlom would obviously be a very good character if Justin has picked up as well. Not only canceling Ben's game text, but also adding a Battle Destiny with Jabba. So even if, the weapon swing were to get canceled by blaster deflection, Forlom could, if Forlom or you fall in Portal Mara Jade, she goes away. Forlom tries to cancel Ben's text, that gets blaster deflectioned, but Forlom does add a Battle Destiny with Jabba. So he could still draw 5-4, have 9 for total, and clear out Ben. Justin making some comment about the 5 being on top and that not being good. And Bastion saying, what, you don't have Sniper in hand? I guess assuming that Ben's going to get sniped in this situation. In fact, he seems shocked that Justin doesn't have Sniper in hand. This will probably be the pivotal turn of this game. Bastion got off to a rough start, but just kind of stabilized a little bit. Was able to get a few cards retrieved back with the on the edge to kind of extend the game a little bit. Justin missed the altar on the Honor of the Jedi, although he's satisfied multiple battlegrounds for a while now. And he is going to activate down to that pile of tracked cards from the previous turn. He'll drain for 3 first before doing anything else. We'll see just exactly what unfolds here. There goes a Master Luke from hand. Bastion with 8 cards face down, 12 in hand. And there's a Ben Kenobi from hand. Presumably at this point, if Ben leaves the table, he's barely going to have enough force to redeploy him, and certainly wouldn't have any place left to deploy another Ben Kenobi. Wouldn't be able to redeploy him here, and Ben can't go here, so. And there goes a clash from hand as well. Clash not being useful with crush out. Just a way to cause another force loss, I guess, but you play your lost interrupt, and your opponent has the option to lose a force to cancel it. Oh, Justin's going to take the Force Lightning into hand during his control phase. Really not sure what he's doing here. And then he pays 9 and deploys the Chimera. I'm a little stumped here. He did not have the sniper, and he's been saying it's been in the bottom half of the deck for a while, and he hasn't been able to move it around to get it to a point where he could draw it. I guess that's why he's deploying the Chimera, to spend force to kind of move more cards around so he doesn't, uh, you know, have to draw into as many if he's trying to find the specific card. He is still going to battle to avoid the force loss from order to engage. And we are likely to see the Fallen Portal here. And there it is. Yep. And Mara Jade's going to go away here. Obi will swing and hit somebody. Chirnu's got the highest forfeit. Well, Jabba does actually. Jabba's a 7. Presumably these are all pretty high Destiny cards left, so oh, he's going to swing at Janice to stop the tracking ability. And easily hit him. Oh, there's a 5 and another Ben Kenobi. Janice is going to cycle a card back to draw a card. We don't know. Well, obviously, one of them was the Imperial Command. Don't know what else he had floating around in there. He does draw the Emperor. So that is going to get rid of the Ben Kenobi. I don't know what he had cycled around. Unless Bastion has something that reduces attrition. Like you do have your moments or whatever. Janice is going to die. Admiral Chirnu's going to die. Or Jabba's going to die. Oh, Biggs is forfeit +1 from Insurrection. Biggs forfeited for 7. Never mind. Yeah, and then Biggs comes right back. And now Chirnu's got to move away. Yep, forgot about Insurrection for a minute there. Oops. Yep, thanks, guys. And now Ig's going to move out. And Piet's going to move to the Hoth docking bay. If I had just clicked on the card, I would see forfeit 7, forfeit +2 from insurrection. All right, so Ig's going to move out in front of Ben Kenobi here. And if he can track around that Emperor, he can draw a 6 for Weapon Destiny if it doesn't get canceled. But it's nice to know you guys are awake and paying attention, so that's always cool. Justin picks up a card, taking him down to 15. So they would be currently tied. Bastion throws away home 1, which he has nowhere near enough force to deploy anymore. Does he have a sorry about the mess to get rid of IG? And get his Luke back? Or is he just going to activate and pick up the Fallen Portals and say go? Things are certainly looking pretty positive for Bastion at this point. Like I said, obviously Justin can do enough damage to win the game. But very unlikely he can do enough damage at this point to win by 15 or greater, with only 6 cards left in hand. And they're both losing to Visage. That's basically 3 turns. Yeah, order to engage should not trigger here because Ig doesn't have presence. So that's an interesting variable. Now, action in this game certainly really has been a little lackluster. We had some early action on with Luke getting captured by IG. Never even come close to any type of scenario in which Han was going to get freed. Bastion has asked to disable the 5-minute timer, which Justin agrees to. So the action timer has now been disabled. As Bastion says, I need to think. He's still in his activate phase. So presumably Justin's saying take all the time you want, right? Justin's hoping for the time win at this point. He would win by enough if Bastion were to time out. But Bastion still has 20 minutes left on his clock, if you can't see that in the top left corner. Yeah, he's going to go deep in the tank here and figure out exactly what he wants to do. Presumably, if I remember correctly, from last turn, the first thing he did was he played the Fallen Portal. He drew the Destiny for it, which was the R2. I'm sorry, which was the Were You Looking For Me. So that's what these two are sitting right here. This is the Were You Looking For Me and the Fallen Portal. The problem would become if Bastion doesn't have a blaster deflection, and Justin found a way, and magically Justin top decked and picked up the sniper. And he can sniper Ben Kenobi and capture him and then run away. Although in this case it would just send Ben used because there's nobody left. Ig can't hold any more captives. So he'd send Ben back to the used pile. Get him off the table. The lightsaber would be lost. No need to battle then because you're just walking into a possible fallen portal scenario. But then you just start doing the damage to Visage again for a turn or two while it takes. And now R2 has just hit the table. And Justin says, I'm doomed. Do we have a mess? There's a Major Hashin who's going to go down and block Piet. It's just going to be another scenario where it's going to force Darkseid to battle at a docking bay or lose force to order to engage. Justin's going to pick up the Force Lightning, taking him down to 14. Of course, we know he can put it back. And may have other cards in his hand he could cycle back as well if he needed to get up to 16 suddenly. And Lando's going to move over as well. Yep. There is the Force Lightning used. That'll put the 5 on the bottom. Which Justin does activate all the way down to. There's the sniper. So he did find it. He does have the 5 tracked. No blaster deflection. R2 will trigger and let him draw the top card of his reserve deck. So if that was the Fallen Portal, he just picked it up and took it into hand right there. Hunt down now flips. There's We're Doomed. Literally. Okay, so that's going to cut the force loss in half. So that'll be a drain of 1. Ben goes used. Then the We're Doomed goes used. And Bastion's going to lose the Run Luke Run from hand. If you battle with Piet, you have to assume Piet gets hit, becomes forfeit 0. And then he draws a Battle Destiny and makes you lose multiple cards. He draws a 5, and you peel a bunch of stuff. If he has a Gick in hand, he's not. That would be fine. That would be losing a lot fewer cards than if he had to get hit by the order to engage. But Lightside's currently doing 0 damage of their own. The only damage they've done for most of this game has been from Visage. For Justin here, you've got those two options basically. It's battle with Piet and take some battle damage, and if you have a Gick to get around it, awesome. If you don't, you're going to lose a lot more cards, and then you would not battle, and you would just lose 3 force to order to engage, and then Docking Bay Transit Piet away. If we're tracking Bastion's deck correctly, the card he picked up with R2 would be the Fallen Portal. And then this is the Were You Looking For Me? Yep, Justin's going to lose the 3 to order to engage. He's going to lose Projective Telepathy from hand. It's Worse from hand. Mara Jade from hand. Taking him down to just 1 card left. And Pia is going to move to Vader. And that's about all Justin can do here. Bastion's got 10 down, 4 in hand. And Justin's sitting at 15 down, 1 in hand. I believe the loss pile count differential last game was 8. I think it was 24 to 16. And right now the loss pile differential, as soon as Bastion loses this next card, will again be 8. Yeah, if Bastion wanted to, he could take 2 turns. He can move these guys to the home 1 docking bay. And then docking bay transit for free to here. I think actually has, if he loses a card from hand, he would have just enough if he activated all 10. Because it costs 1 to move, plus 9 to get here. So he could docking bay transit to the executor docking bay. And then presumably start moving over. Bastion's asking for a lost pile count, hoping somebody can put it in the Gemp lobby for him from game 1. I believe it was 24 to 16, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Justin says he thinks he had 24. I'm pretty sure he had 24 because I remember commenting on he added an extra card with the tunnel vision, but it resolved before he died. Does that sound right to you guys? Anybody remembering? Bastion loses Leia with blaster rifle from hand. I guess now the question would be is where's the word doomed? Interestingly enough, Bastion's also down to 12 minutes on his timer. He's taken a little bit these last couple of turns to really think and plan out. What exactly he wants to try and do to minimize his damage. And he is going to play a how do we get into this mess. So those of you unfamiliar with that card, droid is at a Dune C or wears a Scomp Link, use a Force. Put your hand in your used pile and draw the same number of cards off the top of your reserve deck. You draw an extra card if the droid you targeted was C-3PO or R2-D2. It's a used interrupt, so then you basically replace the interrupt itself. So he puts 2 cards back, draws 2 cards off the top of his reserve deck, presumably one of those being the word doomed, the other one being Ben Kenobi. And he has 7 Force left, which is just enough to redeploy Ben Kenobi. And that's probably going to do it. So now the 1 card left in his hand is the word doomed. Justin can drain for 1 here. He plays the word doomed. He drains for the 1 here. He just set up the tracked 5. We know Bastion won't have the Fallen Portal because the only card left in his hand is the word doomed. So if Ig battles, he would be able to use the 5 to capture Ben. Send Ben Kenobi used 1 more time. He outpowers Biggs 4-2. And Biggs takes 2 battle damage. you get to drain a 2 in. There goes the mess. There goes the where you're looking for me. Here comes the word doomed. There we go. There's the 5 to capture Ben. Maybe Justin wins on lost pile counts. Bastion's going to draw a card. Ben's going to go used. Huntdown's going to flip one more time. Chat saying that should have redeployed Ben in front of the Emperor. He wouldn't have had enough force to move Biggs, though. And then Ig might have caused over... maybe not. He forfeits for 7. So now Bastion's got 2 battle damage, but We're Doomed cuts it in half, cuts it down to 1. So he's going to lose the Ben Kenobi from the used pile and keep Biggs. He can't move the Emperor over. Best he could do would be to move Chiranu over. He does not. Bastion does have 1 force loss left remaining. And he does throw away the On the Edge, which is the card he picked up. Because you have to target a rebel of ability greater than 2 to trigger that. And both Hashin and Biggs are ability 2, so you would not be able to retrieve anything there. Bastion's only going to activate 4. And he will Docking Bay transit in front of Vader and Piet there. And he'll move R2 over as well to give himself extra power and forfeit. R2's an extra power 1 and 4 more forfeit. With only 1 card here in the reserve deck, best case scenario is Piet gets shot and, you know, he draws a 5 for Battle Destiny. Vader can't swing at anybody. Hashin, nothing boosts R2's forfeit, right? Nope, just forfeit 4. And Bastion's going to draw a couple of cards. Darkside really doesn't have anywhere that they can move people to circulate some extra cards around. One to Visage. Master Luke goes away. There goes a Ben Kenobi from hand again. So it's not like the 4th Ben Kenobi I think we've seen. Justin has to battle, otherwise he has to lose 3 to order to engage. And the question becomes is, well, Vader's not getting shot, and Piet's gonna get shot and become forfeit 0 most likely. And then it'll come down to, is there a 6? Or did he pick up the Fallen Portal again? He did not. Okay, so Piet gets shot. He draws the Fallen Portal for Battle Destiny. Or Weapon Destiny, rather. Bastion calling an under attack here. Does he have a 6? basically saying good game, good game. There's the under attack. That's going to do it. Vader's going to leave the table. Visage is going to kick in on both players. And Bastion is going to win this match. Just because he can, he's going to battle Biggs. So Justin's going to win the game, Bastion's going to win the match, and he'll advance to the finals. And Justin's going to start drawing. Because Ig doesn't occupy a battleground, Honor also kicks in. And Bastion's just going to activate. He's going to pay 3 to drain for 1. Yeah, you'd have to move Chiranu over. Then he'd have his 3 battlegrounds back to get around Honor. Plus Chiranu would be able to drain, because Ig also can't drain at Jabba's Palace. But it's all academic at this point, so... Yeah. Justin moves over to the Emperor. Doesn't matter which guy you move, really. Now both players lose a force. Bastion will get 1 more force drain in. And that'll be all she wrote. And he's just going to draw up at this point. So Justin wins game 2 by 10. He will Bastion will advance to the finals and take on either Hayes or Joe. I don't believe their match has been scheduled yet, but as soon as it is, we will be sure to post those times on the forums and give you an update on who will be streaming that matchup. Congratulations to both these players on making it this far, and an excellent, well-played semifinal duel. And best of luck to Bastion in the finals. So thank you guys all very much for tuning in this morning. I hope you enjoyed the stream and the commentary and the coverage today. And we'll see you back here whenever the other semifinal match is scheduled.